Hi everybody, I'm Leah of seejanedrill. Now today's video has to do with this tool right here. It's a framing square. And if you're thinking, oh, a framing square, let me tell you, there's a cool tool in a framing square, and it's a secret tool. I say it's a secret tool because if you don't frame every day, it's the kind of tool you don't know exists. And I'm going to show you what it is coming up next. Okay, so this is our framing square here. Now, before I show you that little trick I told you I was going to show you, let me do something first, okay? We'll get back to this. This is our wall, and it's framed in, all right? Now, when you're working out in the field and you're a carpenter, you don't have a whole lot of time to grab your tape measure and do a lot of measuring, because it's all about production and moving very, very, very quickly. And that's where the framing square comes in with that little handy secret tool I told you about. It really allows a carpenter not to rely on this so much. I'm going to show you what I mean. When you're framing a wall, you're laying it out, you're trying to figure out where to put your studs on your bottom plate. That's what this is. This is called the bottom plate, and these are called studs. Studs are vertical, plates or horizontal. Okay, there's something called stud center, and what that means is that the center of one stud, I'm going to mark it right here, okay, that's the center of that stud, okay, the center of that stud to the center of the next stud, to our next stud here, the center of that is 16 inches. That's what they mean when they say 16 inches on center. Notice how the 16 on the tape measure is right below there, and it's right in the center of that stud. So what we're looking at is the bottom plate. I've removed the studs. Now I want to tell you something before I even start laying the studs out. I want to show you something. I've got a 2x4 here, and everybody calls it a 2x4, right? But the truth is, it's not a 2x4. It's actually a 1.5 by 3.5. Let me show you what I mean by that. Now, if you notice, our 2x4 is really 3.5 inches. And if I turn it sideways like this, guess what? It's 1.5 inches. So it's really, our 2x4 is really a 3.5 by 1.5. Okay? So let's lay out our first stud. I'm going to take the tape measure, I'm going to hook it on the end, I'm going to pull it back, and look at that red 16. That's stud center. And I'm going to make just a little tick mark right there. Right there, so we know that the center of our stud is got to be placed right there. So let me do this. We know that the center of our stud's got to be placed right there. Well, since the little tick mark is right there and I do like that, well then I can't see where to place the stud, right? So this is what you do. So we take our stud here, right? And it's 1.5 inches. And half of that is 3/4 of an inch. Right there. That's smack dab in the middle of the stud. This side is 3/4 of an inch, okay? This side is 3/4 of an inch. And this side is 3/4 of an inch. You know, forgive my sloppy handwriting here, okay? And if you add both together, what are you going to get? You're going to get 1.5 inches, right? So back to our bottom plate. We take our tape measure, we put it there on the end. There's stud center being 16 right there. There's our hash mark, but we don't want to cover it up. We got to know where to put that stud, right? So we're just going to move back 3/4 of an inch. There we go. That's 3/4 of an inch. Now if we move 3/4 of an inch in front of the 16, then just put a hash mark right there. Okay? And the distance between these two, what do they represent? Well, they represent that stud. So maybe you're wondering, where, Leah, the framing square, where does it come in? Exactly. When you're out there in the field and you're framing walls, you don't have time to be making all those little hash marks. That would take you forever. You'd get fired right away, okay? So I'm going to show you how we do it. So this is how we do it. This is our bottom plate. You've seen that before, but this 2x4 here, that's our top plate, okay? And then you put your studs in between here, all right? Bottom plate, top plate. And we do it together. We do both plates together, okay? So I've laid out my tape measure, and there we go. There's that stud center, 16, right? Well, remember, we're jumping back 3/4 of an inch to 15 1/4. That's the only mark we need to make, that one right there. Now we're moving down 16 inches to 32, because what? 16 and 16 make 32? That's why the 32 is in red. Notice how the 31 and the 33 is black? The 32 is in red, so you can identify stud center very quickly. So there's stud center. We're going to jump back 3/4 of an inch to 31 1/4. There we go. And we just keep going. Okay, so folks, this is where a framing square comes in and speeds up the whole process. Now, I don't know if you've ever noticed this before, but a framing square, this side of our blade, this is called the body. Notice how it's thicker than this side of the blade, which is called the tongue. This is the tongue, this is the body. And it's done by design to help you lay out your wall when you're framing, because this tongue is exactly the thickness of a 2x4. So this is where the cool tool, the tongue, comes in to speeding up the framing layout process. We got that hash mark there, that one hash mark. We don't have to worry about a gazillion hash marks. We just got the one, and we know that our framing square is exactly the thickness of a stud. So I'm going to strike a line here, and I'm going to strike a line here, and I'm going to mark the top plate and the bottom plate at the same time. So what I do is I just keep moving down, and I know that my top and bottom plate are going to be always stud center, and I'm marking it very quickly. Now, once I get everything marked, this is what I do just to make things visually easy for myself. I've got everything marked. So I come down here like this, just like this, just like that. So I can just see things better when it comes time to put my studs in. So let me show you guys a little bit of a visual. I'm going to put my one stud there, put my other stud here. And again, it just makes it very quick and simple to see where those studs go. And then when I put my top plate on, I'm doing the same thing. I'm putting that right there, and I'm putting my second one right there. It's just easy peasy to see where my studs need to be. So that's it. That's how you frame up a wall really quickly without using all those little hash marks, right? Just by using the tongue of your framing square. This is Leah saying, you can do this. See you next time.